I experience creativity as an impulse coming from the depth of my being. In many ways it's my oldest friend, always there, guiding and directing me through my work as a copywriter, designer and marketer. I've built my business around these key areas and found clients I enjoy working with. Projects vary from website design and copywriting to marketing campaigns, case studies and social media marketing. My work also provides plenty of scope to learn and perfect my skills, which is very satisfying. For me, creativity is entirely natural. When I start a project, I note all the client's requirements and concerns. Then I enter a period of mental silence or meditation. This is a very important stage in the creative process where a clearly defined problem is allowed to gestate and emerges as an idea for a solution. This miraculous process never fails to amaze me. It works every time without any contrived mind games or mental gymnastics. How it works, I don't know, but I'd say it operates through me rather than from me. It comes from deep within the psyche, the life energy that animates this body and all bodies. Anyone can access it if they still their minds enough and allow the mental clutter to dissolve. Next, I'll refine the idea with sketches and play around with words to create a headline or proposition message. Then I'll create a project plan and look at how the idea can be implemented across different media. Creative ideas will only work when they're put into action. The implementation of ideas requires practical skills that have to be learned and perfected, such as drawing, photography, writing, and using computer software. Other expertise includes psychology of selling, social behaviors, and how markets operate. Creativity is not something that can be turned on and off at will. You can ignore it and busy yourself with distractions, but as soon as you pause your busy mind, an idea will pop into your awareness. Most people have experienced a light bulb moment while showering, taking a bath, or waiting in a traffic jam. So it's there all the time, running in the background, offering insights on the task in hand. If you want to get close to observing creativity, then you have to give your full attention to something you enjoy doing and observe what is happening without thinking. If you think, you'll divert the mind away and the attention will be lost. Don't try to control your thoughts either. You'll just get drawn into a battle you'll never win. The trick is to surrender to the present moment and the task in hand. Take some deep breaths whenever the mind wanders away. If you're painting a landscape, playing a musical instrument, or writing a poem, don't think about it, just do it. Insights will emerge when your mind is still. They are not thoughts. Thoughts are mental distractions that keep going around in circles as worry, excitement, and anticipation. I mentioned two ways in which creative ideas develop. The first was the seed idea of a project, and the second was the implementation of the seed idea. In both cases, the pause or period of gestation is the key to accessing creativity. People tend to associate creativity with artistic endeavours such as painting, writing and music composition, but I've also experienced it in solving technical problems. When something goes wrong with my computer, I will just pause my mind for a few minutes and I'll be given a vision or phrase of where to look. Equally, if I'm not eating the right food, I will see an image of what I need to eat more of. This has proved to be very reliable. I've also discovered the more aware I am of creativity and its influence, the more it presents itself as spontaneous ideas, visions and poetry lines. Is it possible to be in this state all the time? Yes, it is. Down through the ages, all civilizations have had their wise men and women who have inspired and guided the people with their wisdom. This is a different form of creativity, but it is still creativity. The art of convincing other people of the value of my creative work has always been an important part of my business. Selling ideas is crucial in business, but I'm not referring to pressured sales techniques, but more of a consultative selling approach. This means I'll invite people to open up and discuss their concerns and ambitions in a friendly and informal setting. Again, listening carefully and still in the mind are the keys to a successful outcome. Some years back, I was trying to do business with a large corporation. I spoke many times to the MD's PA and established quite a good rapport. The MD was too busy to see me, so I asked the PA what his main concerns were. She said he has a big communication problem. The production workers won't talk to the sales team. I mentioned a project I was involved in where a client had a similar situation. I asked if I wrote a case study, would she forward it to him? She said yes, and a few days later I got a meeting with the personnel director. It wasn't always like that. In the early days I used to put together generalized sales pitches, which weren't very effective. I soon discovered the best way to help organizations was to set up meetings and talk to people within the organization before meeting the main person. I found the friendly conversational style I developed was more natural and suited my character. The principles used in selling my expertise are the same in selling my clients' products and services. I created presentations that were entirely focused on the client's issues. I'd offer ideas and suggestions on improving business performance. I focused less on myself, but was happy to speak about my experiences when asked. I sometimes won contracts without showing any of my work at all. This showed me that people were only interested in what you can do for them. I don't actively seek recognition by the media. Some say I should, but it suits me not to go down that path. In my experience, the reward, satisfaction and recognition comes from doing a good job and having my clients refer me to their contacts. There is also an inner sense of satisfaction that comes when I've done my best and clients keep coming back. People often say there's nothing new, everything has been done before. And there's some truth to this. The idea of television is unchanged, sending audio and pictures via radio waves, but the implementation of the idea has drastically changed with advances in technology. While creative ideas manifest with little interference by mind, the implementation is strongly influenced by culture. Behaviours and attitudes affect delivery style, colour and language. Being aware of contemporary language, both visual and verbal, is essential to formulating messages that people will resonate with and accept. You can't really learn to be creative any more than you can learn to breathe or learn to be alive. You are alive. You can play around with puzzles and mind games, but that is more about brain training, getting the mind to perform circus tricks like a magician manipulates your perception or reality. For me, creativity is entirely natural, which means it's independent of any learned mind-controlled techniques. I'd say the process of becoming more creative is one of negation, getting rid of the impediments to creativity. One of the biggest impediments are the mantras people recite, such as, "I'm not a very creative person," or "I wasn't very good at art when I was at school." Learning to still the mind is the way to liberating your mind and removing the impediments to your creative potential. Make a start now. It's never too late. Thank you for listening.
Very much for joining me in this discussion. Your speech about how you express your own creativity, about your own strategies for developing your creative thoughts and your creative ideas and putting them into practice, that's very interesting. And what I wanted to ask you, following from your speech, was that sometimes people say, well, that's not very creative, or that's really very creative. How do you determine between what is creativity and what is not creativity?
I suppose if the idea, whatever the idea is an original idea and it's not an imitation, then I would say yes, that's the result of creativity, certainly, yeah. So original ideas, whatever the ideas are, whether they're conceptual, product-based or software-based,
But in the
piece of,
work you do, because your work is very creative, you work with technology, you work with social media, you work with
yeah.
people's websites, and have you found yourself looking at particular websites, for example, and thinking that's not very creative, or looking at a different website and thinking that is really creative? What for
Yes.
you?
Well, occasionally I come across that, but the vast majority of websites and the vast majority of marketing material is imitation, I would say. Yes, I mean it's well executed, but there's so much imitation, and that's right across the board, really. Whether it's advertising and design, video, there is this conformity that people have, to be accepted. In order to be accepted, it's a herd mentality, really, and that in a way kills creativity. It's because people want to be accepted, they want to be like their peers, they want to be like the people they admire, those around them. And if you go off in a tangent and do something different, yes, you'll always be a kind of rebel, I suppose. But that hasn't worried me, because I've quite enjoyed being the rebel. So conforming to is not my. I'm not a conformist. So so in a way, that combined with the meditation, it's a very natural thing for me. So it's not something I have to force or make it happen. It just happens. Yeah.
Yes, I was just saying that I've noticed a lot of imitation as well, in terms of marketing, because I know that you are involved with marketing, for example, as well. And I noticed that a lot of people, they promote copying systems that work. So there is, I suppose, in a sense,
Yes.
a desire to save time by following tried and tested systems that work, rather than ones that may or may not work.
Yes, there is a very good case for that. Tried and tested means, but especially if you're pressured and you've got strict deadlines to work to, that can kill creativity. I mean, even I've done things where it needs to be turned around very quickly. So because I've been doing this sort of working as a designer and copywriter, it's very easy to kind of produce something I've done before, knowing that it will work because I've used it many times before, and it's a quick, standard, solution, and that can happen, but it's not something I enjoy doing. But if you've got to churn out a bog standard solution for someone, even a website that needs to be done very quickly and cheaply, then there isn't a lot of scope there. But to do something, you have to really experiment and look at it, because to experiment and be creative, or allow the creative process, you need time. You need to explore. You need to try different options, see whether that works, that doesn't work. Try this, try that, and so creativity it evolves through experimentation, really. But pressured under time, then it's the quick template type solution is what happens. Result of that. So I can.
So there is this balance between being efficient using tried and tested systems, And on the other hand, having the resources, the time, freedom of time, the liberty to make mistakes. So it's easy to see how in a work situation it would be much to use the tried and true.
I'm sorry, I kind of missed that. Your voice broke up for a short while. I think in an agency environment, yes, it's you have to churn things. I've worked in an agency environment, and it's very much like a sausage factory. You're just churning stuff out. But having said that about experimenting and having time to do things, I'm now going to contradict myself and say that some really good ideas have just happened in seconds. I've been in the shower, or I just go out for a walk, and so things do happen very, very quickly. Yes, they can happen very quickly. Yes,
but that isn't in the work environment. So it goes back to sometimes when we are actually in the work environment or in the classroom environment, there isn't time available to for those ideas to emerge spontaneously because there's just so much going on.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So I mean the office environment, the work environment isn't necessarily the best place to generate ideas. For me, I've never ever come up with a decent idea sitting at a desk or looking at a computer. I always have to get away from where I'm working, my workspace, which is usually in a studio or rented office, or working from home at the moment now. But even working from home, I have to go out somewhere. I have to go for a walk, or just pace around, or just do something, even just, having a shower or going to the gym. The gym's been a good source as well. Gym's been a wonderful source. It's had some of the ideas I came up with a couple of years ago made a significant difference to a business I'm working with. And I was just on an exercise bike, and I just had this download for about 20 minutes. It just kept coming, and as soon as I got changed and everything, I grabbed a notebook and I just wrote it all down, and then I got back to the computer and put it into a proposal, and it had a really big impact on the business I was working with. Yeah,
that's a great example. It's an example where maybe you were not in conversation with anyone, but you were exercising. No. There was movement. So that seems to be associated, like when people are dancing, for example, or walking, that kind of movement of the body, but without being engaged in a conversation. So it seems as though we're using a particular part of our brain which requires low stimulation in terms of the interactiveness. So we need to be within ourselves, but at the same time in motion. When we're in the shower as well, there's motion going on. We're feeling the water on ourselves, and but we're not actually engaged in conversation. So we're focused inwardly. Mm-hmm. It's not stagnant energy. Our energy is in motion.
Yes, that's true. Yes, yeah.
But as we said earlier, that kind of space is not usually available neither in the work environment nor in the classroom environment. It's available when we go outside of the classroom, when we go outside of the workspace, when we go for a walk, when we go to the gym, when we take a shower, or we do something else pleasant like climbing a mountain or...
Yes, exactly, yes. Yeah.
So coming back to this thing about imitation, that imitation enables us to be more efficient, whereas when we have the time at our disposal, when we are not rushed, then when we have as much time as we like, we can be more creative, but it requires experimentation, because not every creative idea will be a useful one, will be a valuable one. And again, in the workplace, we can't expect our bosses to pay us for experimentation all the time, because we get paid for our good ideas, not necessarily for our bad ideas, especially when we're working freelance. So as a freelance worker, knowing that you're only as good as your last job, basically, how do you balance that out? How do you ensure that you're able to be creative when you know that people are only going to pay you for your best ideas, not for your worst ideas?
Well, I don't have a problem with that, because I'm not employed. I'm not in an office situation where I'm an employee. So if someone working in an office wouldn't have the freedom perhaps to just go out or get away, and I mean, you probably could just go and have a walk, but because I work for myself, even under pressure, I can still come up with the ideas, because I always give myself that time, whether it's going for a coffee with a cafe or walking in the park. So it can come very quickly, yes, because I've been doing it a long time. So it is just. Yes. What I said earlier about not having the time and churning things out, I was thinking of when I worked in an agency environment, which I didn't find very conducive to coming up with ideas, because just sitting at a desk, there's two parts of it. There's coming up with the idea, and then there's the implementation. The implementation I can do sitting at a computer in an office, busy with people on the phone, making phone calls and everything. But the idea generation, which is the creative, so it's the generating the idea, I have to get away. Well, it's just for me anyway. So that has to be the walk or the cafe or whatever. So as long as I can do that, then the ideas sort of come, really, or going to the gym. So being in an office environment or an agency environment, and having to come up with the ideas sitting at a desk, and doesn't work for me. Yes.
Okay.
But the implementation is fine. You've got to sit at a computer and use the software to implement the idea that you've come up with. So the implementation can be done, can do that.
Yes, of course. Yes, because we have to bear in mind that there's various processes, various stages in the creative process, and for some of those stages we need to be on our own, and for some of those stages it's actually useful to be with others in terms of evaluation of our ideas and implementation.
Yes, yes. Certainly, once you've come up with the idea, sounding the idea out with other people is very useful. Yes, talking to people in a group situation is quite important. On the phone, I often do that. I think that's very important. That's essential. But the idea generation. It's difficult to lay down rules, really, because I've come up with ideas by being in a busy room with about 7 or 8 people, and somebody's just said something, and it's triggered an idea, and then I think, there it is, and then I might discuss it with them, and then that becomes the main idea for the project. So you can't really lay down rules and say, it happens when you're in the shower or we go for a walk, but those are generally the things that happen. But it has happened listening to other people as well. It's also happened just reading articles. because I do a lot of work with technology companies. So I'm reading an article, and sometimes the idea will just spark from there. So yeah.
Okay, great. So looking back at forums like YouTube and other social media channels, which in themselves are the outcomes of very creative ideas, have you found that they are enabling people to be more creative, or do you think that there's just too much imitation going on?
I think there can be. It depends what you listen to on YouTube, but I certainly find it very useful listening to other people's ideas and views on different topics, a wide range of topics. So YouTube's a very good platform for that, for people exchanging ideas. Yeah.
Yes, and I suppose it's that exchange of ideas that enables, new ideas to come forth. It's usually sometimes when there's conflicting ideas. In my own experience, I found when I've taken the time and trouble to listen to people who have very different ideas to mine, that's when my own ideas are sharpened, strengthened. That's when they become more creative in themselves, because I've looked at a different angle.
Yes, indeed.
So Francis, thank you very much for sharing your ideas, and it's very, very stimulating, and I love your examples of going to and coming out with downloading this whole kind of new ideas, whatever. But of course it can't be forced, it has to happen naturally, doesn't it?
Yeah, there was something that happened to me yesterday, actually. I thought it was really good. I was down in Whitstable in Kent by the sea, and I picked up this. It's a little, don't know if you can see it. It's a little stone.
Okay.
And there was a little girl on the beach, and she was making little drawings on the stones with coloured pens and putting messages on them, and then she laid them out on a wall with a little sign saying, "Please take one." And I saw them, and I thought I thought it was a very beautiful thing, and I picked one, and I showed it to her, and she just sort of smiled. And then afterwards, I was sort of thinking, that's creativity working through the little girl. Creativity working through the little girl, expressing beauty and love, because she was writing about love, and she was doing little drawings about love, and little messages saying, "Please take a stone and then make a wish." And I did. Yeah. So I just thought it was a very lovely thing. So I put it on my table. Yeah. So I think that's a good example of creativity, just working naturally through the girl. Yeah.
It is a very good idea, a very good example, because creativity is about adding value, and that little girl added value to your life because it made you feel good, it made you smile. So,
yes, it did. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to keep the stones on my table.
Okay, great. Okay, Francis, so thank you very much, and we'll be with you again soon.
You're very welcome. Okay. Bye-bye. Take care.